Welcome to Brilliantly Different, the podcast where autistic voices lead the conversation. Your hosts today are Charlie and Holly. And today we are joined by Respect for All, a charity that supports autistic people, families and carers with mental well-beings. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me here today, David, Charlie and Holly. Sorry, I've started wrong immediately, haven't I? Got the name wrong.
Don't worry. You call me David Tennant, that's I'm fine with that.
Charlie and Holly, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you tell us your name and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Paula Doran and I work for an organisation called Respect for All, and I've been working for them for over 6-7 years now. Maybe a bit longer than that. I can't really remember the length of time, but a long time. And I work as a counsellor and psychotherapist, but also as a supervisor and as a training lead. And predominantly I work as the development training lead for Respect for All at the moment.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What is Respect for All for anyone who doesn't know?
So Respect for All is an organisation that was set up around 20 years ago by 4 counsellors who were parents of children with complex needs, and their children had lived with learning disabilities and also identified as being autistic. And the parents were really struggling with getting access to services for their children, so access to mental health support, and there weren't many avenues for support available that felt were specialist enough, so people would get batted back from services for support because they didn't feel that they could meet the needs. So instead of them, struggling, they set up a service themselves to support their children and to support them with counselling and having somewhere to go to for support. And what they found was that many organisations were set up to deal with problems, like to deal with the mental health problem like anxiety and depression and schizophrenia and things like that, but weren't giving anyone a space just to talk about how it was to be a person and how it was to live with these labels and what it is to be an autistic person in the world today. So they set that up 20 years ago, and it was a small charity. And over the years, they've worked hard and fought for funding, and they've grown over the years, and they've got more counsellors on board, and now they offer not just counselling, one-to-one therapy, but we've helped them develop the offer to include groups. So we run peer support groups for people who are autistic, ADHD or with learning disabilities. And we also run psychoeducational groups for the same people. So usually what happens is if people come on our waiting list for counselling, we don't want people to be waiting without having something that's a support for them. So they're open to come and join the psychoeducational groups to learn a bit more about autism and ADHD and learning disabilities, and also consider joining the peer support groups, whilst also still being able to access the counselling services as well. And from that, we recognised that we were doing a lot internally for people, but we still had to go out as neurodivergent people in the world. And it was great to have support and have this place to be able to talk about ourselves in groups with others of like-minded people. But when we're going out into society and into the world, there was still a lot of ignorance and a lot of people who didn't understand really what or being autistic meant, or what being ADHD meant, or what having both meant, or also having a mental health challenge, what that meant, and how actually complex it can be for somebody who has lots of things going on for themselves, and how it's not just so simple to just adapt and do what somebody else wants you to do without support. So my passion then turned towards educating people, and we recognised there was lots of training out there. We know there's lots of great organisations who do lots of different types of training on autism awareness. What I felt was really different, both as a person who's neurodivergent, and also as a mum of a child who's got complex needs, and for all our clients, was that it never really, the training never spoke about real lives and what it was to be a real, living your life as an autistic person, or what it looks like, what support should look like in real terms on the ground. So giving great, concrete examples of how you adapt your communication and how you treat someone who is different. Because the training would stop at just being training. It wouldn't allow you to think, okay, well, how is this gonna work for me? I'm the one that's got to go into work and then be a supportive person for somebody with difference, but not knowing how to do that. So training is only as good as it is when it can be applied. So we're really passionate about helping people apply the training in their everyday work or in their everyday worlds. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
What would you say are the things that people like overlook when it comes to autism?
I think that autism is such a, one, and I think this is a really common saying, once you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. And I think the idea of the spectrum, is good to an extent, but it falls down because people don't understand support needs. And I think that one thing that is overlooked is that as individuals, we all have different capabilities and capacities. We all are able to function at different levels when we're thinking about certain skill sets. And people aren't thinking about what people can do, or they're expecting people to be able to do things.
We do it ourselves.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And I think that people can be very black and white with how they approach things. And I think one of the biggest things people forget to do is ask the person what they need, and really allow the person to be, self selected in terms of what support they need, because that can differ in every situation. So in this room, I know I'll need certain support, but I might walk into that next room and my support needs look completely different, depending on my sensory experience of that environment, dependent on my understanding of what's going on in that space, depending on how people are communicating with one another, all of those things, and the social demands of each space can be different too. So that simple question, what do you need and how can we help you, is not asked enough. And I think that is massively overlooked. And I think that's where generic trainings can be really great, because they open up the conversations to say, okay, this is what autism can look like, but it can also look like this. It can also look like somebody with autism with ADHD, or somebody with autism with ADHD and depression. It's a bit like Lego.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So having
where you building the pieces and
yeah. So you can come up with any different combination of structures and colours and things, can't you? And I think that's very much like what we're like as people. Yeah. We all, and we can be useful in certain situations and useless in certain situations.
We have our strengths and weaknesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, one other thing I think people overlook is that I think one of the biggest things is empathy. That autistic people don't feel, or they don't understand emotion, and that's been the biggest misconception, I think, in my experience, is that empathy isn't, is different for people who are neurotypical than people who are neurodivergent, or being autistic in particular, but it's just developed progressively differently. So And that comes into, you know, the idea of monotropic learning. And that's another thing that's really overlooked is how we learn as autistic people. Yeah. So those are real massive concepts that people could really benefit from understanding a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What are your group meetups like?
So the group meetup started out as being, so I piloted the first group, and we wanted it to be a space where people felt they had some structure. So we started the group, they're online, and the groups are pretty small. They don't tend to be over 6 to 8 people, and they're usually an hour and a half long. And we set the groups with a theme. So the first one was all about me and my autism, and people being given the opportunity just to say who they were, how autism is for them. And then the second week, there were 6-week groups, so each week would have a theme. So one is becoming and being social. Another group was looking at communication. Another group was looking at wellbeing and mental health support, and then, you know, life and how to get access to support and how to self-advocate and things like that. So each group had this theme, very loose, and then as gradually as people come week after week and get to know each other, the conversations would really steer away from the themes and people would just talk about whatever they wanted, and that was great because that's what we wanted people to do. So that pilot was a really great success, and then after that we rolled out more and more peer support groups. So now we run peer support groups for adults who are autistic, professionals who are in the world of work and wanted a different kind of conversation, what it was like to be autistic and in the world of work and professional. And then we had a group for people who identified also as having learning difficulties and disabilities, and an LGBTQ support group as well. So there was a safer space for people to have that kind of dual identity, and the challenges of intersectionality that people could experience. So what is it like to be autistic, LGBTQ and black, and also struggling with other challenges like poverty. And so the conversations could go anywhere, really. Yeah, so the groups, the peer support groups were a place for people just to come together to share their experiences. And then from that we developed the psychoeducational groups. And they were more of a formal offer. So people were coming into the peer groups, but not really understanding a lot about what autism is. So they were talking about being autistic, we're like, I don't know what that means, you know. So we put the psychoeducational groups on as well, because then those people that wanted more depth and wanted to explore it a bit more could do that. But that also opened it up to us to invite parents and carers and family members along, because it's no good just educating the autistic person and them having somewhere to go if they're going back into a family that doesn't understand them. So we were really passionate about making sure the family was really included as well in that offer. So the parents and carers groups would also run alongside the autistic adult groups as well. So they've been really successful, the groups. Yeah. So all online, and people have the opportunity to have cameras on or off if they want, because, you know, not everyone likes to be seen or want to be on camera. You could use the chat feature, so it was really great for people who were anxious and become mute, so either selective mutism or anxiety-based mutism. So everybody who had different communication needs could be involved, and that was really great for people with assisted communication devices because they could type. And we had, you know, a real great attendance from quite a few people who identified with you know, anxiety-based mutism, because they were like, oh great, I can do this, I can be here in the way that feels comfortable for me. And we were just there really from respect for all as facilitators. So in the psychoeducational groups we would teach things and we would give people the opportunity to talk about how it was for them. We're never about telling people how it is. It's like, this is an idea, this is the research that's out there, this is how we're talking about things at the moment. We're not here to tell people you can't do that, you mustn't do this. It's like, well, let's have an intelligent conversation about what it's like to be you, and give you space to do that. Because all these theories are great, they come from really clever fellas up there, bringing ideas into fruition, but it doesn't mean that's how it feels for you in your life. So research brings ideas, and us having groups and places to talk about it is what really enriches those ideas, because we need to basically say, yeah, this makes sense for us, or it doesn't. Yeah. I'm curious, Charlie, what's it like and you, Holly, what's it like for you being in groups? Is that something that you enjoy?
I think because in college we would like be in groups like where we would do a project together, and
it was like more like if we were to do like a certain project, we'd be going back and forth between groups. But it was mostly like getting people to understand us more, and with being in the group, because you didn't really see much people interacting with us, so it was like we have to interact with them, so we have to get them to talk to us while being in that group. But it's more fun hanging out with people and people who understand you.
And we also have like group meetups with a couple of friends, like we'd play bowling together or go out for eat, like.
Oh, that's a lot of fun, isn't it? Yeah. So we trialled, we did the psychoeducational groups, and then you could go on to the peer support groups, and then we trialled a longer term groups that people could just kind of show up and on Discord and just have that social support. And then there was ideas that came from that group of a few of the participants who then went off and set up their own groups. I think one went on to do a Dungeons and Dragons group, which was amazing. And I believe that still might be going. And another one was really interested in setting up a board games group. So it was a great thing for us to see, because although we couldn't support people indefinitely long term, because we're a business and an organisation, and we want people to take what we're giving and then go and live their lives. And it was really great to see that just by giving people the opportunities to come together, their own wonderful ideas and would basically come up, and then they could start to build their own groups because they'd had the opportunity to do that. So I'm always, inspired to think, we always want to do more. We always want to have more opportunities, and moving things to face is also something that, we wanted to try. We did trial it, it didn't pan out, we didn't get people coming, but we're still quite passionate about that always being developed, or pointing people in the direction where we know that there's face-to-face meetups going on. So it's good to hear that.
Really great.
How can people find you?
So we've got a website online, respectforall.org.uk, and the services we deliver are predominantly online. So we don't have an office or rooms. We offer our one-to-one counselling is face-to-face and online, so it's a dual offer. Sometimes we would visit people in their own homes if they didn't feel they were able to commute or go out into society and couldn't cope with online. So we have done some face-to-face work in people's homes. That's a bit rarer. We did have some rooms for face-to-face work spotted around Greater Manchester. So we have counsellors in different locations. So some are in Stockport, some are in Manchester side, some are in I'm struggling on my geography now.
It's all right.
Levenshulme, Danebank, spotted around the place. So we tend to try and find, cheap rooms basically, so that we can keep the costs down, but somewhere that's accessible to people so that they can come. And if people don't want to do face to face, we've got the online offer on various platforms that we use, and that's proven quite successful. But how people find us is coming online and either referral by themselves, so they can self-refer, on the website, respectforall.org.uk. You can self-refer, there's a referral form, or you can make an inquiry, which is at inquiries@respectforall.org.uk, and just ask about what the service is, because we have a suite of services on offer. Recently, we were taken on via an NHS contract. So previously, people would be referred to us either via their GP or they'd be self-referred. But then we would have to ask for funding after they'd been referred and accepted, and that could take quite a long time. So the chief exec, Rob Wardle and Sam Palmer, so Sam Palmer's the CEO and the Chief Operations Officer is Rob Wardle, and they put together a bid to take forward to the NHS. So we've been fighting for this for a couple of years to try and get funding, and this year that funding was ring-fenced, and we've now got an NHS contract to cover Greater Manchester, but that means our offer is somewhat reduced. So we used to see a lot more people, but now because of that ring-fence funding, it means we've got a cap on how many people that we can see. So we're setting up the service to be part NHS, and then hopefully we'll have a bit of an offer where we can offer private counselling as well, so that people, if they want to access outside the NHS, they can do so as well. So those referrals through the NHS need to come through either, again, self-referred or via the GP. But people first are asked if they've tried local NHS services first. So it has brought more hurdles along the way. It's not easily as accessed because I think with the NHS it's more of a tiered support service, and because we've moved into that model now, it means that there's a bit of a silo. But hopefully over the years that will hopefully be improved. So referral usually asks to say, have you tried any other NHS services? And people will tend to go, yes, and it's not worked for us, or yes, but it wasn't for me, or yes, but they didn't really understand the complex needs that we had. And then they would come to us at Respect for All, and we'd have that knowledge and that understanding, because we're all, majority of us are practitioners who are also autistic, identify as autistic and ADHD, also have lots of lived experience, are usually, we call ourselves experts by experience because we're living this every day, and raising families who also are autistic and ADHD and with learning disabilities. We understand the challenges, and we're also trained, professionals in counselling and psychotherapy, and we specialise in predominantly working with people who are neurodivergent, whereas sometimes in the NHS, generic services aren't specialised. They're generic counselling services, and people have got a little bit of training in neurodivergence, but we're hoping that changes. So as part of our training and our outreach, we're also training some NHS organisations. We've trained probation services, we've trained the arts services. We've been in quite a lot of areas to deliver that training. So we hope over time that knowledge will increase. And some of the biggest barriers have been basically because people are scared. People are scared to try, and that comes through a lack of knowledge. So by us offering our services, we're also showing people that being inclusive really matters, and being adaptive matters as well. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, it's understandable coming from where people are, and what's trying to support different companies as well.
Do you have any funny stories like the people you've met, or like during like counselling sessions? Like,
I think probably the more, I'm not sure funny stories, but challenging things for myself, and more I'd say on myself, because I've kind of gone into this world of training, coming from a background in counselling and psychotherapy, and I've just kind of gone out, and it's been this massive learning curve. When my son got his diagnosis, you were kind of given the letter to say, there you go, there's some leaflets, on your way, crack on, and I'd raised two two children who, you know, didn't have a diagnosis of autism and done it the best I could. And then my third son, I was having to relearn completely how to, you know, re-parent again. So the learning curve was like this, you know, and then going out and training people, you know, and I was just, I guess that the funniest thing was kind of coming back to myself and learning about myself, because then I started to think, I think, you know, I'm autistic, I have ADHD, you know, and everything in my life just fell into place and made sense. And my husband as well, my husband's autistic too. So we're late diagnosed, you know, in our late 40s, 50s. Getting a diagnosis has just been brilliant. But it's also made me realise how, you know, with the training, I'm a terrible traveller. I always get lost, always. So wherever I go, I'm always having to leave at least half an hour early, because I'll usually take a detour, the scenic route or something. You know, getting to places has been a real challenge for me. But I think, you know, in terms of training, it's one of those things, you turn up places, you just don't know what you're going to get. You know, and I think that one of the biggest challenges is communicating that. So you're going out to train people on neurodivergence awareness and telling them to ask for adaptations, and I'm thinking, I need to ask for adaptations as well. And people not realising when I show up, I'm shaking, I'm like a nervous wreck, you know, and they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, I've just travelled, you know, it's really difficult travelling for me. And I can't do public transport. You know, it over the years, it just terrifies me. You know, so I think that's been, I'm just laughing at myself, really. You know, I'm learning more and more about myself every day, and the more, you know, the more I accept that I have these challenges, and I found my way around that, is just great, you know. But in terms of funny stories, I think some of the things we do, going back to therapy, you know, some of the work I do involves working with children, one-to-one, and I trained as a play therapist. So a lot of my work is play and mess and, you know, and using paints and Play-Doh and doing, you know, drama kind of type play. And I used to have a bit of a sports hall that I would hire to do some of Respect for All's private work. So I would see some clients face to face, or I would see them in their own home. And a couple of the clients that would come in, we'd be able to make great use of this big space, and we'd be doing, you know, mindfulness practices, and we'd be pretending to be tigers and lions and talking about our emotions, and really just being with the people with their particular medium is really, really helpful. So as a therapist, I like to come in and you know, work with people and think, okay, what is it that helps you communicate? What is it that you enjoy? What are the medium that you like to use? So is your, you know, not everyone has a special interest. I think that's another thing that people need to know. It just is not true. Some people do, some people don't. You know, but for certain clients who do have something that they're into at the moment, so a lot of clients with anime characters, they like, you know, drawing and art and things like that, or some clients who are really into their pets and dogs and things. So we've got that freedom of being able to come in and begin communicating and start a conversation, being really where the person is, not me telling somebody what we need to talk about or how things need to start, but letting that be organic. And that can be really fun. You know, as a therapist, if you can let yourself kind of be with the person, that's really fun. So yeah, I would say I've had lots of enjoyable moments, and I think, you know, the fun side is just me laughing at myself and the things I get wrong a lot of the time. Thank you. Yeah.
I bet when you're travelling, you probably get to see great views, of like places, when you're driving,
I'm usually like this, holding onto the steering wheel. Don't miss the turning.
Yeah,
me and the sat nav like this. Yeah.
It's like when you start driving, you're not used to it because you're like used to walking or doing something else. So it's like you have to focus. You can't let something overcome you. So
Absolutely.
you have to get used to it more.
Yeah, definitely. And just because when I was younger, I could never. I didn't, and I know that this is me and my autistic self. Is I just don't have any sense of direction, and I would always follow, my big sister around, and I never learnt where I was going, and I would never wear glasses, and I was blind as a bat. So I would kind of feel my way around places and never know where I was, and that's always been with me throughout my life. I'd put my hand out for lorries instead of buses, and goodness knows how I got from A to B, where I was going, and how I'm still, here today. But yeah, I think that, as autistic, people, we do adapt, we find ways. They're not necessarily always the best ways, and sometimes we need a lot more guidance, with that kind of thing, and it can be terrifying and really anxiety provoking getting from A to B, and that's something I've had all my life, but also as an adult doing this job as a professional and training people, I still really struggle getting from A to B, so that kind of car journey. And I am going to all these new places, like me calling you this morning. I'm here in the car park. I'm a little lady. This is what I look like. I've had to learn to ask for help. That's what I've had to do. Yeah. So that is quite fun sometimes, because it's very freeing. So I think as I've grown older, the more I don't take myself so seriously. It's helped me ask for more help, and I can just and be more accepting of myself and just laugh at myself, So that's quite freeing, and I hope that's what we want for our clients as well. That's what we want for everybody, is to be able to feel good about themselves and do their best
and feel the joy as well.
Absolutely, and have a laugh.
Basically pass your phase and get used to it all.
Absolutely.
Enjoy yourself more than doing anything else.
Yeah. And I think the other thing about therapy is, therapy is found in everything. You don't have to necessarily come to see a doctor or a psychotherapist to heal and to feel better about things. That can be done through many different mediums. Some people choose art. Some people do, write stories. Some people make films, like and that gives you a sense of expression. You can really be heard and have a voice. And I think most people coming for therapy want to have a voice. They want to feel heard, and they're a lot of the time struggling because they haven't been heard. They haven't been taken seriously. They don't feel good about themselves, and that's had a massive impact on their well-being, and we want to guide people in terms of helping them understand why their bodies are behaving the way they are and why their mind is behaving the way it is, and help them find ways out of that. And that can be done through CBT for some people. Doesn't work for everybody, and there's lots of reasons why CBT needs to be adapted for people who are autistic and ADHD or with learning disabilities. And when it's adapted well, it can be really, really helpful. But it's not for everybody. And choice is really important in terms of therapy. So, we have therapists who are person-centred, and that means they support people with conversation. They let people have a chance to have their voice and have their say, and they're really heard and listened to, and that can be very healing for people. Some people need a bit more structure and more solution-focused support and want to understand how to function more in life. So that could be through We do a lot of executive function coaching. So what we're doing then is helping people look at the skills that they've got, the things that they really excel in. So it might be that someone's really great at organising themselves and planning things, but where they struggle is in managing their emotions and regulating their emotions, or they might struggle with understanding changes in perspective. So putting themselves in, you know, seeing, you know, what everybody needs, or putting themselves in the position of others, or seeing different perspectives, that might be hard. Or it could be timekeeping is a real challenge for somebody. You know, so some people want support functionally and practically rather than anything else. So we offer executive function coaching as well. And we also offer family therapy. And family therapy brings in children, young people, teens, or even adult children of families where there's higher care needs. And we also involve the family in that. So it might be that a young person has one-to-one counselling, but we would also bring in the parents to support them as well. And then hopefully bring parents and children together. So there's kind of a dual therapy going on, or family therapy going on, because children, adults, you know, who are autistic don't exist in isolation. And it's really wrong to think that the person who is autistic is the problem. They might be having problems, but sometimes the problems are due to their being understood in their families, and we can really help support that through lots of different means and ways as well. So yeah, okay. Told you I could talk.
Yeah, but we're understanding it more.
The more like we know, learn, the more it's like great too.
Good.
So, would you give any advice for someone who's just starting to like find out their autism, or they've got ADHD or any other disabilities?
Oh yeah, I would say be kind to yourself. You know, I've noticed that people go through, you know, when you're waiting for a diagnosis, you don't come to that decision to go for a diagnosis easily, in my experience. And this is working with hundreds and hundreds of people. You know, I've not met anybody who's gone into that lightheartedly. And contrary to what the papers and the newspapers might say, people don't go for a diagnosis to get a payout or to get benefits, because it really isn't that easy. You know, people go because they feel out of sorts with themselves. They don't feel like they fit. They feel there's something wrong with them. They feel that they've gone through a lifetime of being told they're the problem, or they're wrong, or they're weird in some way. Yeah, and that's been my experience, and I know it's been a lot of people's experiences. And, you know, when you go through that process of diagnosis, and you have to kind of win the privilege to get a diagnosis for some, you know, it's years waiting to get a diagnosis, or you've got to have money to pay for it, you know. So it's a real, you know, there's a real divide there between who can get a diagnosis and who can't.
A bit of a tricky like thingy for people who have autism to get diagnosed.
Yeah, so you have to wait 6 or 7 years on a waiting list, or you pay £2,000 plus to get a diagnosis. You know,
because there's some
fair.
Yeah, because there's some lately who've been like not getting enough funding, who they've been transferred to. Yeah. And you have to keep on waiting for months. Yeah. And lately there's been like some who have to go private just to find out instantly if they've got like a certain disability. Yeah. And they want to find out before they do something, because they feel like you've got something wrong with you and you want to find out. Yeah. So you have to either go private or wait for months or years just to wait, or go up to your doctor. Say you've been waiting for ages and they'll just talk to the person, and then you just find out quickly.
What was it like for you both getting a diagnosis?
I think I think I was diagnosed, I think I was quite young, and I think my mum was the first one who immediately knew that I had autism when I was, I can't remember the full thing, but when I was my mum was like the first one who saw like that I had autism.
So were you quite young, Charlie?
Yeah, I think I was. Yeah.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, I think I remembered some of it. I remembered when I was little, and I was kind of a different person then. But my mum would tell me the story. It was where when I was little, I'd like bang my head like on walls and leave like holes in the wall. Like, although I don't do that now, I'm a totally different person to what I was. Yeah.
Well, that's the difference, isn't it, between early diagnosis and early help and support, is that you know, when you were doing that, you were obviously experiencing some distress.
Yeah.
And probably knowing that you were autistic and, you know, opened some doors for you to get that support. So you're not doing that now, you know, but there are lots of people out there that, you know, as adults still struggle like that, don't they? Because they haven't had the support, you know, which is just, you know, it shouldn't happen, should it? It's a shame that they're not getting that. And what about you, Holly? What was your experience like? I feel like I'm interviewing you now.
It's all right. A bit of a back and forth. Like.
So when I was young, I found out I had special needs.
Yeah.
Because I was struggling with loads of things, and my mum told me that I started talking Chinese.
Right.
So it was like when I started talking, I was talking Chinese, and it was like from that to when I started getting older, I started talking English, and my memory was going a bit. But I got help in school with my special needs, and then as soon as I got to college, it's like I'm finding out I've got dyslexia. Yeah. But now I think I've got autism and ADHD because of the way I've acted over the years. I've been waiting since like August, October, just to find out I've got autism and ADHD.
So you've had your assessment, and now you're waiting for the results, and you've been waiting over how long?
About 7-8 months now.
To get the result?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So my doctor transferred me to Psychiatry UK.
Right, okay.
So they've apparently not got enough funding, but then they've got funding now.
Right.
But there's like a long waiting list just to find out if you've got ADHD or autism.
So you're still waiting for your assessment?
Yeah, so there's like, just for ADHD, you have to wait for like 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And then for autism, it's 8 to 10 months.
Yeah.
So my grandparents spoke to me saying if you want to go private, because for private it's like 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're like telling me if you want to do it and we'll pay for it.
Oh, how generous. That's lovely of them.
Yeah, so...
But it shouldn't have to be that way, should it?
No, it's like, if you need to find out, then it should only take a while because you've already done like certain things. Yeah. Because I've been struggling my whole life with like writing, reading and certain other things because I've always acted out, like because I've had different emotions over the years. I struggle with certain things, so my teachers in primary, they always help me. Yeah. So with reading, writing, playing with others, I've had that help. Yeah. And I always stood with the teachers at like dinner time or break time because I knew they would be there because didn't have enough friends. But as soon as I got to high school, everything just changed. Right. So I had like in year 7 I had help with my maths. Yeah. And it like changed. So no one helped me enough, or I had to put my hand up. Yeah. And I understood certain things, and there was that. Yeah. As soon as I got to college, everyone knew I wouldn't answer questions. I didn't know how to do certain things, so I had that help, or I would ask one of my friends to help me, and they understood that.
What do you wish had been different, Holly, for you?
I think it would be more like if I found out sooner, or like if the doctor transferred me more and they realised that there was something wrong with me, then I would find out quicker that I've got autism and ADHD, and there'd be more funding towards the people who are like helping me to do it, because I've been waiting for so long.
And I think that there's something wrong with this system, isn't there, in how people are getting diagnosed, not just with autism, but the process of understanding that you've got a learning difference or a learning disability is completely different as well. And I understand, for at least, the statistics tell us, the research tells us that, in terms of being autistic, it's very rare, that you're just purely autistic. There's usually a co-occurring condition or something else alongside, and we know that I think in 60%, between 50 and 60% of people who are autistic with diagnosis either also have ADHD or also have a learning difference with dyslexia, dyscalculia or dyspraxia, or also have a learning difficulty, but they're not diagnosed with that learning difficulty until 16 plus because it needs to be persistent, and obviously we need to give people time to progress and develop. But we also know that how we learn as autistic people is very monotropic. So it's kind of like one thing at a time, and we might learn something with great depth and with great passion and really be into it. So it might be that somebody's really great at maths, but, ignores English and just really immerses themselves in maths, which is great. And, to embrace that. But then it doesn't mean we shouldn't revisit English at a later date. It might just mean that once they've done the maths, then English can come at a later date. And I think the whole education system needs to look at that. It needs to look at the fact that people who are autistic and live in that monotropic way of processing information need their education to look different. We need longer. We need to be 25, and we're not getting that opportunity. So a lot of people are leaving school before they've had the chance to fully get those opportunities to revisit the things that maybe they weren't able to learn when they were younger because they were navigating the environment. They were just trying to get by and deal with the sensory stuff, weren't they? And just going to school, Charlie, must have been a challenge. So I think it can look a lot different, and I think that there needs to be wider screening. So if somebody flags up as being autistic, we automatically need to think, okay, let's look at ADHD, let's look at learning differences, let's look at if this is turning into a learning difficulty, and let's not let that progress beyond a point where it becomes detrimental to the person's opportunities in life. And maybe those, when we are flagged up, we need to be given a different type of education that maybe is a bit more siloed, if that's what people need.
To help,
because I also think as well, there are autistic people that do very well in education, and they're very bright and they're great, but there is always usually somewhere a delay that happens, and it might be they're really great and excel in education, but socially there's a divide and a delay in between, catching up with the social understanding of things or how to behave around others, or accepting of self. Your kind of self-confidence might be delayed in its development, and that needs to be seen as a difference and more opportunities given for people. But it's just not, everything's done all at the same time in schools, isn't it? With neurotypical people, it's all the same. Everything has to happen at once, and nobody thinks about how actually it could look differently. So I think there's lots that could be better. It sounds from both of your experiences that you're more than aware of that, and and now you're finding your way forward now, aren't you? You're developing these skills in more depth, outside of school.
Because growing up, I was always that child who needed help, and I think nearly everyone's seen it. So most of the time I didn't do my homework, so the teachers just let me off with it because they understood that I couldn't do things. So everyone usually got mad because I was let off because I didn't understand it. But when I went from primary to high school, teachers understood more, let me off with everything. But some of them would let me draw or something else because they understood it. But they knew that there had to be more education-wise into helping more people who needed that help and understood. So they were more do this, do that, and then they would give you easy work to do, because if you didn't know that there was something else wrong with you, you needed that funding, then you'd get it. So it was like going back and forth between everything.
Yeah, which sounds really frustrating. And you know, I'm curious, Holly, with that when you said people got mad at you. I mean, how did it feel when that was happening? What did you want them to know?
So basically, half of the ones I grew up with basically knew what was going on with me, but the ones who got mad, like I wanted them to understand my point of view.
Which was what? What would you say now?
I would say, like, because I've got disabilities, I need people to understand me more.
Yeah.
Because then it makes it easier for me to understand them, their point of view, instead of them coming to me but also being mad at me. Because I grew up with like people being mad at me, bullying me because of the way I acted. So now, because I'm finding out more about myself, they need to understand that's what's been happening over the years. So they need to calm down and express themselves and like understand where people with disabilities are coming from, because half of the time no one understands their point of view, because they think they're coming from where they're coming from, because there's been different people who've been helping others, and if there's like a certain person with a certain disability and they start freaking out and that person's getting mad, it's like, calm down. You want them to understand more. So it's like going back and forth between everything.
So you want them to be more patient and compassionate, don't you, and understanding and And what about you, Charlie?
Yeah, because I remember at schools, I would sometimes like kind of struggle with certain parts of work, like maths or English, like, you know, trying to understand. And there would be some the teachers would help, and with my homework, my mum would like help, like when it come to like some I couldn't stand, like some of the maths questions or certain questions that I had to answer, my mum would like help me out of what I was struggling with. And
so it sounds like we've all at some point needed some help. I know for me at school I was suspended. I was always getting in trouble. Always, just never understood, you know, a scrape through. But I think with more understanding, I'd have done a lot better. So I do think, but you know, we get there in the end. Hope, you know, some of us do, don't we? You know, but that extra help can certainly help it feel easier, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. Do you work with other organisations?
Yeah, so we're always really keen to, you know, work in partnership, and our CEO Sam Palmer and Rob, the Chief Operations Manager, they both sit on, you know, different boards, and Rob is very much involved in the infrastructure and organisation and the day-to-day recruiting staff and supporting the coordinators with onboarding the clients and making sure people get the right service. So, you know, allocating people to either one-to-one or to groups. And then Sam is very much a networker, and he's you know, building up neurodiversity network for neurodivergence based organisations, which is growing, and they're doing a lunchtime webinar based offer, which is growing more and more popular, so that people who like yourselves, you know, are really passionate about neurodivergence can come together and all have a shared conversation, which strengthens our community, doesn't it, really? And we've had lots of organisation support us with the training. So we've worked with places like Disc College in Manchester. We've had opportunities to speak at the universities. We have opportunities to work with probation and mental health services. And more recently, we're organising a festival for next year with arts and culture bodies, and we're in partnership with Hope Mill Theatre and some other arts and venture arts venture companies. I always get that wrong. I probably say Venture Arts, I think it's called, where we work with autism wise. With I believe there's some work going on with I Am, and there's a few different partnerships. Sam, I wish Sam had been here today. I did try and get him to come on because he could have told you all about that, and I'm probably getting it wrong. But every opportunity we can, we're trying to work in partnership with people, because I think with the nature of charity work, and as Respect for All, we're a CIC. So part funded by the NHS, part charity, and part bringing in income, but we're not for profit. So there's lots of different ways we have to get that funding stream through, and there's lots of other organisations that are in the same boat. And when local authorities are making their bids for services, they're only pitching to certain organisations. Not everybody gets that opportunity. So then you're left with the third sector, aren't you? And I think the more the third sector can come together and work together, then that strengthens people. We are stronger together. But there's a lot of competition, and sometimes that competition stifles growth. It stops growth, and it stops the message getting out there to people that need it. And that's a real mindset that comes from, people are really conscious that there's a lack of funding. But if we kind of see that, the support and the networking are what help make communities great, and if we can all kind of have bring our voices to the surface, then that's going to help things be more sustainable for the future. Respect for All, we're always open to partnership working and speaking with others. We recently collaborated with we got some grants through from the Boots Fund, which we were really welcome for, and that allowed us to train over 25 organisations in autism awareness and in adaptations of support, which has been fantastic over the past year. And we also got a culture grant, which allowed us to train another, I think there was another 10 organisations. So an organisation called the Y-Yin, one called Europa, we were able to bring autism awareness to different communities that were also trying to support others to have awareness. So in the Chinese community, they've been really trying to promote autism acceptance, and in Europa, they work with a lot of European organisations and Ukraine-based organisations to increase their awareness of autism acceptance and awareness. So we're really passionate about spreading the word and awareness and acceptance as far as we can, but with the main idea of adaptation at its root. And adaptation is collaborative. It's not the person who's coming to see, it's not for the autistic person alone to adapt. It also requires society and communities and organisations to adapt as well. And that has to be done in, cooperatively. And there needs to be more of that co-production between the individual and organisations, and we're really passionate about that.
Okay. Yeah. How can people, for people who want to get involved, how can people support the charity organisation?
So we can support us by, we're always, looking for new talent, recruiting counsellors and psychotherapists, play therapists, family therapists into our service who are, specialising or wanting to specialise in working with autism and ADHD and learning disabled people. We work with students in training, and we also have research students. We've got 2 PhD students working with us at the moment, doing their doctorates with us, which really adds to our body of research, and that is really important when we're giving evidence for funding bids for services like that. So and we really see ourselves as a community, an immersive community, and that lends itself brilliantly for research. And also, that the clients, don't be afraid to come and inquire and ask about what we do. We're there to support. It might be that we help you and signpost you to, go via other NHS services first. So you know, when GPs refer, there's a route of referral and there's a reason for that. It might be that other assessments are needed first. It might be that, you know, there's another service, a generic service you can access more quickly. And I don't think anyone should be stuck on a waiting list, you know. So if there's a service that hasn't got a waiting list, that is really skilled and is aware of neurodivergence, we want you to access that. And likewise, if someone's sat on an NHS waiting list and is having to wait for years for support, we don't want them to wait, we want them to come and see us. So, you know, people can, you know, help us by using us. And then that, you know, that kind of shows, you know, people that, you know, we do exist. And, you know, for the most part, I hope we do a good job. I hope that we help people who are in need of that mental health support, and that they leave feeling they've been really heard and really listened to. And for those that don't, let us know, you know, and we can signpost you to more appropriate and more effective services, you know, because we know that, you know, for some people, longer term, different support is needed. But we want people to get what they need when they need it. Yeah.
And it's understandable with that.
And to finish off, we got a quick fire round question.
Okay, yeah.
Talking or listening?
I think you know talking.
One-to-one or group support?
Both.
Quiet, busy space?
In the middle. I like to be on the periphery, looking in.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Morning or afternoon?
Morning.
Indoor or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Calm or active?
Bit of both.
Plan ahead or go with the flow?
I'll go with the flow.
That's a good one.
That is so like me in that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's it,
Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Holly. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for talking to us all.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm really, really pleased to have been invited and to have had this chat with you.
It's been great to have you here.
Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks for listening to Brilliantly Different. Today we spoke with Respect for All. Please share this episode. Details are in the description. Stay brilliantly different.